there's there's a lot of comments on here too. I'm seeing about the offensive line, like that we shouldn't even be talking about any kind of game changers on offense and whatever. I would like everybody to kind of look back and do your research on what kind of improvement Florida State had last season and how they're bringing back almost this entire unit. Coach Atkins has a second year with them. You get Devontae Love Taylor back. It seems like Dante Lucas, is the biggest thing for him is his mental attitude. If he's good to go on that end, there's a lot of promise there for him. He's got talent. He's a strong kid, very violent, which you like to have on an offensive line. But the biggest thing was him really buying in and being on the same page with Norvell and Atkins. They had tons of meetings right after the season. There was some speculation if he intended on transfer, and it seems like he's locked in. I know he was tweeting some quotes about Mike Norvell yesterday. There was improvement in a lot of different ways, but it's understandable. You got McKenzie Milton being back there now. You're going to be a little bit more. You're going to want to throw the ball a little bit more if he does intend to be the starter. But let's be honest. Sometimes the quarterbacks that were out there last season really put themselves in really tough situations on getting sacked. They put themselves in that area. There was a lot of time, and we don't do that. We just like the Florida State fans. Don't want to call them out, but they like to B and moan. You know what B stands for, but they like to B and moan a lot. But these quarterbacks had some time last year. It was just the problem was not making the reads in time. McKenzie Milton with that kind of protection for a majority of the games last year would have been dealing. So I keep on seeing all the offensive line talk and all that, but I just wish some people would do some research and see the improvement from last season and the full spring that Florida State and Coach Atkins is going to have. So that's my spiel.
That for the last 4 years, man. I've said it on. It feels so refreshing to hear somebody else say that. I've said it on this show. I say it on Twitter. I'm like,
I don't know what I'm.
A quarterback that knows where he's going at the end of his drop, it affects a defensive line, especially in the pass rushing situation. It's like boxing. When you swing and you miss somebody, it takes more energy out of you. When you connect, it feels really, really good, and you feel like you're ready to connect again. But that's just so every time he hits that 3-step drop and he gets rid of it, or even a 5-step, it makes that pass rusher say, "Okay, hold on, I have to do something else to try to affect the game." They don't come as hard. They're trying to jump. They're trying to do other things. Plus, it gets a rhythm. Once sports is a game of rhythm, and I know I get it, man. It's social media. You pay your money for the super chat. God bless you. Click the like button. Have your comments. But the reality is, you can scheme yourself out of situations with the offensive line. There are 5 elite offensive line units in college football. That's it. Most of you guys commenting, your school is not one of them. It's not one of the elite offensive line units. Like that. When I say elite, I mean year in and year out, they give up very little sacks. They're really, really good on the run game. Most of the time, it's scheming. And if you look at how exponentially better FSU got in the running game this year, even without a Cam Akers, that's something that should show you that they can improve. They've also not had, I think it was 9 games, and they had 9 different offensive line units, different combinations. You want to have consistency. You want to be able to have the same 5 guys go out there, and they're able to block and protect each other. So there's just a lot of things that went on. And, it's easy when you just look at this as a game from statistics, but 9 times out of 10, that's probably why you only play the game on video games and watch it on TV. It's more to it than that. And that's just for me understanding. And also, I think they can put them in a better spot now that they'll have 2 tight ends that they feel good about. Now you'll have Cam McDonald, and you'll have the guy from UCLA who's a bigger body guy. That was my critique of the Kansas City Chiefs. You want to know how the Chiefs could have won the Super Bowl? Stop putting bad tackles in bad situations. Go Houston personnel. No, it's that bad. 2 tight end personnel, or you go in, or you put or you add fullback. So those are things that that Florida State will be able to do. They didn't have the bodies to be able to do that last year.
Wait, James, it's funny. Sorry. It's funny you say that real quick, Jason, because this is who I was talking about, CHJ in the chat here. was pretty much what you were just saying, James. He put it at the same time. You guys forgot about Pat Mahomes. He's great. That offensive line was trash going into the Super Bowl, and Mahomes got murdered. I'm not buying what you guys are saying. Well, James already said it. You sent it at the wrong time. You should have deleted it. What he's just saying is completely right, but that's not the situation Florida State's going into. They're bringing back those guys from last season, guys that made big time improvement. The guy that was named a all freshman, whatever they had him at. I mean, there was a lot of improvement on that cycle. What the Chiefs did was put themselves in a terrible, terrible situation against a defensive line that was hot at the time and absolutely was after Aaron Rodgers and made him look silly. So that was just the Chiefs' fault. And they thought they thought they had it all. That was going to be easy Super Bowl for them. But that's what the Chiefs did. They screwed themselves.
Maybe I should explain it more too. So like
Jason sees no improvement with offensive line. That's what he's about to say.
I do apologize for interrupting because what frustrates me, Logan, I get where you're coming from, but you're dead wrong because you constantly want to give the offensive line all the credit. Look how great the offensive line did. Look how great the offensive line improved. The offensive line is still hot garbage. It's because our running game improved. It's because our running backs.
How does that improve with the bad offensive line?
You're going to interrupt me? You're going to be rude and interrupt me? Continue to interrupt. Be rude. Be immature. Go ahead. You done?
Immature. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you.
Sorry.
I don't know. I mean, the stats.
Your stats are not giving any credit to the running backs. You're not giving any credit to how Jayshon Corbin did. You're not giving any credit to Lawrence Toafili. You're saying it's all the offensive line.
And none of those running backs are Cam Akers or Dalvin Cooks. Those players are not on that level whatsoever. Not even close to it.
No, of course. I've said Dalvin Cook is the best running back that we've had since Warwick Dunn.
Well, forget Dalvin Cook because he played with completely different players, but the comparison could be made between Cam Akers and Corbin and everybody who carried the football last year. I think that's a pretty apt comparison right there.
And I think both of our running backs were so much better last season. They made the offensive line better. I think we're giving the offensive line, if you want to give the offensive line all this credit, was the offensive line better against Duke than they were against Georgia Tech? Yes, I will agree with you.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think, and the only reason I say that is because Maurice Smith wasn't playing that game. If Maurice Smith would have played that game, again, it's 9 combinations. Like that's very hard to be great when you're not playing with the same 5 starters. I mean, if all 5 of those, let's say they're 10 deep, if all 10 of the offensive linemen were all equal, it would be different. But if you're looking at some guys that are trash, but you can protect them, but you can't even protect them if you can't get used to them. And my whole thing is just saying with different personnel packagings and groupings, it can protect. You can scheme your offensive line to look a little bit better than what they really are. And what I was in the comparison with Patrick Mahomes is when you go 2 tight end personnel, it completely changes the defense that's on the field. You've either got you've got to go even if you go out front, your defensive ends have to either line up inside or basically it brings everybody in. If you got a guy like Cam McDonald who is a threat in the receiving game and your running game is important and is good, you've now made the play action game that much better. Basically, you're slowing down the defense. Anytime you can make the defense think, they're playing into because they're not thinkers. Like they're doers. They just need to react. And when you can make a defense think, you got them going. Like that was really the biggest problem with our defense was that they were forced to think and they just aren't very smart. And they didn't feel very, very confident in what they were doing. So to think and have to think, not be smart, and feel like you're not effective in what you're doing is a terrible combination. But but that's why I was saying I won't know about the offensive line really until I start seeing them play games because buy-in is still one of those foreign terminologies to me. It's buzzword bingo. Like they're gonna say it, they're gonna say feel more coached, they're gonna feel more confident. Basically, we're regurgitating the same articles that we've been with different names that we've had for the last 3-4 years. And I don't believe any of that stuff. I'm not even believing my eyes when I go over and watch practice. I'm going to smile. I'm going to greet people that I haven't seen in a while because we can breathe air now. And I'm going to be like, you know what? After that, I'm just going to be like, you know what? Y'all show me in August, and then I'll love y'all again.
Even Logan's cat is about to sit in front of the microphone and say, "Dad, don't say anything stupid. Don't continue to brag about the offensive line. Dad, don't do it. That's what he's saying right now. Look at the gap.
There's no bragging going on. It's just telling you there has been improvement, most certainly.
I think the offensive line was better against Duke than it was against Georgia Tech. That being said, I think it was still a garbage group. And I'm not saying that the offensive line did not go drastically, but I think they went from a D- to maybe a D+. I'll maybe even give you a C- by that point. But I feel like you want to give all this credit to this offensive line. Some of the credit has to go to the running game. I think the running game as a whole was better in 2020 because there were multiple running backs doing their job as opposed to just one in 2019, Cam Akers. Was Cam Akers a good running back? Absolutely, 100%. But there was a team effort that made that running game better as a whole, and I think that made the offensive line look better.
I just remember in 2019 watching Cam Akers repeatedly shake dudes in the backfield and get yardage on his own.
Which game was that?
Every game.
That was every game.
game.
I saw so much out of him in 2019 that I didn't see in 2018 because I think he improved himself that much because he knew what he was up against. And if he wanted to play in the NFL, that he was going to have to be a man. And I was really impressed with Cam Akers in 2019.
Right. I just don't think our offensive line was that much better in 2020 than it was in 2019 or 2018 or 2017. I think that both James and Logan have said it. Mark has said it before as well. I think that's the weak link on the offense right now is the offensive line. But James is right. We're not going to see anything until the fall or maybe even that first game against Notre Dame before we really know is that offensive line capable.
Mm.